Hello and welcome to Good Morning Thailand. I'm Jay, and joining me in the studio is Tim Newton.
Well, nice to be back. Thank you, Jay, and great to be back in Bangkok on a beautiful sunny morning.
That's right, and our special guest for today is joining us all the way from Chiang Mai. It's Forrest Lee.
Hello.
Forrest, tell us, how can we find your YouTube channel, by the way?
Just go on youtube.com/Forrest Lee. That's with 2 R's and 2 E's, and that's my channel.
And there you'll find him. All right. Guys, let me just give a quick update on what we'll be talking about today. Today we'll be talking about the Thailand Pass, the latest statistics, how it's been doing, any issues. We're also going to be talking about topics regarding a petition for bars to reopen in Pattaya, as well as, and more importantly, you better watch out, no need to cry, because Andrea Bocelli is coming to town. Those are the hot topics for today. Let's go.
It's not going to happen.
It's happening. They've made posters. It's too late.
I know, but there's more questions than answers. So anyway, we'll get to that later.
All right. Let me just start off with saying a big thank you to Paul Stoko and Gunnar Olof. Thank you for being Thaiger legends. We appreciate the support. Thank you for being Thaiger members, as well as Coffee Culture. Hey.
Well, it's so good to be back to get my Coffee Culture cup.
That's right.
We didn't get one sent up to Chiang Mai for old Forrest.
You couldn't make it there in time.
But they do have very coffee up there in Chiang Mai. What have you got?
Well, I've got just water for now. I'm still waiting on my coffee culture.
I see. Well, yeah, you can actually get this cup online at coffeeculture.asia. First time purchase, 10% discount. Yeah, that's right. Click the link in the description below.
Can we ask Forrest, what in earth are you doing up in Chiang Mai?
I'm in Chiang Mai right now shooting a couple videos. I actually took a last-minute motorbike trip from Chiang Mai to a remote village over at the Thai-Myanmar border. And this remote village is called Bon Rak Thai. When I first came there, I thought it's overall a very beautiful lakeside village. But one thing I found out about the origin story about the village is that it was actually, this village originated from fleeing anti-communist forces during the Chinese Civil War.
Ooh.
It was a losing fight, and a good contingent of them actually fled over to this border village in Thailand. And King Rama IX was like, "It's cool, you can stay here."
Okay. Well, we've got some video to show that a bit later.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a really interesting area. When you sent me the photos, I was looking at it thinking, that doesn't look anything like Thailand. So we look forward to that a little bit later in the program.
All right. Yeah. Talking about looking like Thailand, a lot of people, of course, have been coming to Thailand. We have basically reopened, in inverted commas. Tim, let's talk about the top 10 countries where people are coming from. Now, again, this has changed. We've had more and more people. Number one spot.
Well, this is really surprising to me, and I'm not sure why. Forrest might have some thoughts about this. Interestingly, dropping out of the top 10 countries that are currently coming to Thailand on the Thailand Pass, the UAE has dropped out of the top 10. Mm-hmm. And if I look through the list, it's quite diverse. But Forrest, tell us, who is the number one country coming to Thailand at the moment?
USA.
I don't even know why I'm
by
cheering.
quite a long way. Some 8,430 passengers have arrived. I think this is over the past week. And second, Germany, then the UK, Japan, Russia, France, South Korea, Switzerland, Israel and Sweden. So quite a few European countries taking up the top 10 spots, noticing that Australia's not in there, usually a very dependent visitor to Thailand. But of course, at the moment, the government over there has made travel out of the country quite difficult, although we imagine that's going to ease up in the next few weeks, perhaps. But an interesting list, USA way in front. Why is it, Forrest, that US expats, maybe it is expats or travellers are making up that number one spot?
I'm assuming it's a combination of expats and tourists. They're probably, this is going to be pretty polarizing. They're probably just sick of Joe Biden. They need to take a break. They need to come to Thailand and just get away from
opportunity.
politics.
Just slip right in there, why don't you?
They just want to enjoy a nice coconut, just chill at the beach, not listen to American politics.
I see.
Do you think that the lockdown and the whole closures and this polarization that has developed in the US has become sort of so toxic for some people that they are looking to sort of get away from it?
It's become incredibly toxic. I mean, especially if you're living in the States, you have no choice but to digest politics and the social culture, everything. It's literally shoved in your face. Whereas here in Thailand, we can either choose whether to participate in it or not. That's one of the best things about living in this country.
All right.
Interesting.
Yep. Well, let's get some statistics going on. Thailand Pass from Monday has logged over 190,598 applications, of which a total of 150,966 have been approved, which includes 75,944 auto-approved applications.
Now, this is interesting. Even if you add all these together, and they sound quite large numbers, but it is a drop in the ocean compared to the numbers that used to come. Mm-hmm. So whilst we're enthusiastic about these arrivals and people coming back to Thailand, it is still a tiny proportion of the numbers that used to come to Thailand. Also, there's been some photos, Jay, online of some long queues at the airport. Some people complaining that the process, once they arrive, hasn't been that smooth. So at the moment, it looks like there's some 2,000 to 4,000 people arriving back in Thailand each day. It's thought that maybe half of them are actually tourists, but most of them, it seems, are still expats and, Thais coming back to Thailand. What's the sort of foreign mix-up in Chiang Mai as you wander around the streets, Forrest?
I noticed that when I started my motorbike trip, there was a good influx of Americans, just passing by. A lot of people are doing the Mae Hong Song Loop. That's what's most famous, which is a 6 to 7 day motorcycle trip around close to around northern Thailand. So it's a slow trickle of a lot of Americans that I've noticed that are coming in to travel around. A couple of Brits, a couple of Aussies, but as usual, it's a slow, gradual process.
Right.
Couple of comments?
Yeah, let's go for the first one from Mandel Bell, who has a question, which I think you can answer, Tim. What are the hurdles Australians need to go through to leave Australia? I thought it was open now.
Well, I think Australians can leave the country now. The government basically said if you need to go, then you can. But I think the biggest problem is probably just getting flights, affordable flights out of the country. When I looked last week, they were still quite expensive. So it's going to be interesting to see what happened. You've got a few supporters here. Sick Puppy is one of our members, says, "Let's go, Brandon." I don't want to go down that track. And I feel your pain. So somebody agreeing with your political affiliations there, Forrest? No, there's a few others I can't read. All right, moving on. We'll get to your comments if we can, but it's not really a program where we're going to address many of them, but we'll get to some if we can.
Right. All right, let's move on and talk about Chiang Mai and what exactly Forrest has been up to. Now, we do have some footage and some pictures that Forrest has sent us. So, Forrest, I'll leave it up to you.
So I took a last-minute trip over to Chiang Mai just because Bangkok, sometimes you need to get away from the city and just recharge. So I came up over here to Chiang Mai, and I've been wanting to make this video about this border village. So I took a motorcycle and drove 5 hours up to this border village over at the Thai-Myanmar border. This border village is called Ban Rak Thai, and it's beautiful, quiet lakeside village. But originally, that village was created or inhabited by fleeing Kuomintang anti-communist soldiers that were fleeing from the losing Chinese Civil War.
Well, this is like, 70 years ago?
Yeah, this is about 70 years ago, but then after the Chinese Civil War lost, the Kuomintang nationalist Chinese settled in Burma to fight the communists, and eventually they were eventually losing that fight in Burma and pushed out by the communists, and they fled to Thailand, and then, King Rama IX, long story short, compassionate king, compassionate leader, said, "Hey, it's okay, settle over here. I expect loyalty." So a lot of the people, they still retain their Chinese heritage, but they very highly respect King Rama IX. So I made a video about that. Posted it a couple days ago on my channel, talking more about that story and that life out in that border village.
So my question is, do they even know that there's a pandemic on up there, or how is life different from both Chiang Mai and then the rest of Thailand?
So the closest city from that village is Mae Hong Son, which is a little bit small. I'd say maybe a quarter the size of Chiang Mai. We'll call it a small town. But they still know that everything is going on. Everybody has cell phones. Everybody's doing their day-to-day jobs over there. Restaurants selling tea. That's their main revenue. So everything's still going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be really interesting because I guess for them mostly just living in that area, they just love and live their life without bothering anyone else, and they don't want to be bothered by anyone else as well.
From what I've asked about them is that every weekend they would usually have rich visitors, local Thais from Chiang Mai that would come in group buses, and they would stay Friday, Saturday, and just leave Sunday. Going around taking photos and whatnot. So there's always visitors every single weekend, and this coming winter, that's considered their high season. So January, February, they're going to get a lot of visitors coming through.
All right.
It gets quite cold up there too.
Yeah.
And another message from Jay Cradeur, who says, have you guys considered doing a live show with a small audience in Bangkok? It would probably be a very small audience. That would be a blast. Well, actually,
yes,
we are going to be out and about in a very, very well-known shopping centre. We don't have the specific details at the moment, but that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. So you will be able to come and throw rocks at Jay.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm very good at catching them now.
Yes. So, we might even be able to drag Forrest along if he's in town.
Right. All right. On that note, let's take a quick break. Once we come back from the break, we're going to look into a little story regarding the owner of Leicester City and King Power, unfortunately, regarding his crash, as well as Petition, again, to open the bars in Pattaya, as well as Prayut and his music video.
Oh, you've got to see this.
You can't miss the Prime Minister making a music video. This is gold. This is Thai YouTube gold. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. Hello and welcome back to Good Morning Thailand. We're still in high spirits. It's a Wednesday morning. I'm Jay, this is Tim, and we're also joined by Forrest.
Forrest Lee, all the way up there in Chiang Mai.
Is that Chiang Mai? It looks like Vietnam.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Chiang Mai. That's my friend Kun Ploy. She's working pretty hard right now.
I see. Yeah, is that a picture you took yourself?
They do grow rice in Thailand too,
I see. You weren't helping her, you're just taking a picture of her. Okay.
No, I'm just freeloading, just staying at her place.
All right. Now, talking about the first story today, it's regarding King Power and Leicester City. Not necessarily those entities themselves. However, two pilots. Let me just give you a brief overview of what I'm talking about. Two pilots, Mr. Swaffer and Miss Leikovitz, along with the owner, the late Kun Vichai Sri Vatana Prabha, who was the owner of Leicester City and King Power. He was involved in a helicopter crash.
Yeah, and this is a really big story at the time. What, 2 years ago?
Yes, just a couple of years ago. And they died. They were taking off from the stadium, from the Leicester City Football Stadium on 27th October, and just moments after takeoff, they spiraled into a crash, and unfortunately, no one survived.
Yeah.
And now, the families actually of these two pilots, Mr. Swafer and Ms. Leichovitz, they've actually come out and they're trying to sue the manufacturer of the company that made the rotor system. So an interim crash report pointed out to a failure in the tail rotor system. What that means is that it was found that the cockpit pedals had disconnected from the tail rotor, which had caused the helicopters to spin out of control. And now they're trying to sue the company, U.S. company Raytheon, now which is a huge company. And we were talking about this earlier with Forrest. Forrest, Raytheon, they're taking on Raytheon.
Raytheon, that's going to be a huge uphill fight. They're either going to, I don't know what to say. Raytheon is part of the military-industrial complex. A lot of my friends that have left the military, whether they're in special operations or in regular military, have worked for Raytheon as military contractors. These guys are like multi-billion-dollar company, but seeing the families take on Raytheon, it's I don't have high hopes for that. They're pretty damn powerful.
Interesting that they're suing the US company from the UK, so there's a lot of issues, legal issues, to try and get this resolved. And also noticed, just going through that story, that the Thai family aren't currently in any legal action against Raytheon. And of all the people to sue, I suppose at least they're a big target, a very wealthy company. But as a wealthy company, they'll probably have the resources to hire the best lawyers they can to defend the situation. But, well, it's sort of a sad situation 2 years after the very sad loss of the Thai owner and the other 3 or 4 people in the helicopter.
That's right. These papers were filed in the District Court of Massachusetts, and the papers, in the papers, the families are seeking an unspecified amount of compensation, as well as financial loss. The families want compensation for the conscious pain and suffering and severe terror suffered in the crash.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's 2 ways you could go this particular legal stoush. You could probably go to the people who were doing the maintenance on the helicopter as well, because I suppose they will have to prove that other Raytheon steering systems or rotors have been defective. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to have much chance in that case. How do you sort of see it briefly, Forrest?
Straight settlement. That's all I got to say. It's probably going to get settled out of court.
That would be, I suppose, yeah. Well, we don't really know much more about that, and I suppose we're just going to have to let it go through the courts and see what the result is.
All right, let's move on to Pattaya now. This is regarding a story we spoke about last week, which included one of the main bar owners, entrepreneurs in Pattaya, called Brian Flowers. Now, today, this is regarding yesterday, Punipa Flowers, Lisa, and others visited Chonburi Town Hall, which is the Pattaya City Hall, and Bang Lamung to hand over a petition for bars to open. So the petition has finally now been handed over to Pattaya City Hall.
This is an interesting one. This is a petition led by the wife of Brian Flowers, the owner of the Nightwish Group, who own many, many bars around Pattaya. And they handed the petition into the Chonburi Town Hall as well as the Pattaya City Hall. Now, they're pushing for a December 1 reopening of the bar scene in Pattaya. They've already had a petition to try and reopen or allow alcohol in restaurants by November the 19th. That's already been turned down. So it's a difficult petition, but I mean, some 400 bars have signed the petition. So you can only, I suppose, support the good efforts of people like Brian Flowers to get the bars open, representing a very big sector of tourism in Pattaya.
They're pushing very, very hard for the December 1st reopening.
Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, the government's saying, no, it's going to be January the 15th. So they're trying to move the goalposts back some 45 days. I'm not sure if that's going to be successful.
Well, do they need it? Yes. I think December 1st reopening, they definitely need it. Will it happen?
Probably
it's hard
not.
to imagine a place like...
Probably not. They need more. They need more of an impact. They need to,
They need you, Jay.
shaking, so definitely not me. They need you,
Yeah.
Tim. They need you to be the spokesperson,
both
the
of you
voice,
guys.
the voice of the people.
Yeah, they need a non-drinker to come down there and get the bars open.
Exactly. Doesn't that have more impact? Like, he doesn't even drink alcohol. Why does he care about it so much? Because I do it for the people.
So here's an
Well,
interesting
so
question. We've noticed, Forrest, and we've been reporting that there's quite a few bars that seem to be open, and we don't really have a stance on that, just reporting the fact that that is what is happening. Places like Bangla Road, Nana Plaza in Bangkok. So as you make your way around Chiang Mai, have you seen any of the bars flouting the rules and actually opening up? I mean, have you
No.
been able to get a beer in Chiang Mai?
Absolutely not. Like, all right, coming from Bangkok, most restaurants are serving alcohol, beer, spirits, whatever. I come over here to Chiang Mai, nobody's serving alcohol at all, period. None of the restaurants, I've tried going to multiple restaurants these past couple of days for beer, and they were just very adamant on not serving, period. Not even in a coffee cup. So it's, and like Chiang
Not
Mai,
even in a
yeah, Chiang Mai has one of the lowest, you guys would say that Chiang Mai has one of the lowest COVID cases out of all the provinces. So it's so perplexing that none of the establishments here are serving any alcohol whatsoever.
All right.
A comment here from PHK Johnny Walker. I think you've declared your cards already. So I'm selfish for being out of work for 2 years and wanting to feed my family. I pay my fees, my work permit, visa, business taxes and the social security for my Thai employees, and I'm the one being selfish. Nobody said that you're being selfish by wanting to reopen your bar. We're just saying that obviously that is contrary to the current laws, and if there are bar owners who are trying to support a reopening, we'd basically get behind that and say, yeah, we hope you are successful as long as it's done in a way that is not going to put anybody at a threat or a greater threat of getting COVID-19.
Yeah.
So we're not calling Brian or any of the supporters of this reopening in December the 1st selfish at all. I don't think that word was even brought up.
Yeah, no, yeah. Another comment here from Sick Puppy says, does not make sense to have Phuket open and Pattaya closed. I have been to Phuket and life is back to normal on Bangla Road. A lot of people seem to have this same chain of thought that it doesn't make sense to have Phuket open and Pattaya closed, but Phuket and Pattaya have been in complete different situations. Phuket went hard on the vaccinations. They were the first province in the entire Thailand to get vaccinations. Most of the residents and people living in Phuket have actually got 2 shots plus a booster, as well as the Sandbox was the first
So the reopening experiment.
exactly for even all of Asia, basically, not just Thailand. So Phuket was the first, and they made some strong strides to reopen, and that's why they are where they are currently. Whereas Pattaya was just shut down pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, they had the problem as whilst the Sandbox was happening, they were having the rise in cases, and they were a dark red zone for a time and currently a red zone. So that's why they're sort of a bit behind the curve.
It's a lot easier to control Phuket as well because it's an island. There's only one-way entry from air and from land, whereas Pattaya, there's many ways to enter Pattaya. You can't control that.
Can we ask Forrest, what's the vibe like? I mean, obviously you've been having a bit of a chat with a few people up there. Are they talking about the Thailand Pass, about the reopening, about Chiang Mai getting the tourists back? What's the vibe for you?
Well, with the people that I've talked to, nobody is happy about this January 15 reopening. You know, they want everything to go back to normal right now, December 1st. And everybody's disappointed. I mean, whether it's the expats, I've talked to a couple of local business owners, some local ties, and this thing has gone way too long. Things need to get back to normal. People need to start making money. Time now.
All right. Yeah.
Did you notice many foreigners or tourists up around there, but backpackers?
Probably at most a handful. Probably just about 5, that I've seen, maybe 5 or 6. That's it.
Right.
It's very, very slow, and it's unsustainable at this rate.
I see. All right. Thank you for that, Forrest. Let's move on and talk about Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
All right. It's time. It's that
Scroll
time of the
down.
day. Everybody, careful what you say. Everybody, put on your best face and your best noise. We shall now be diplomatic. Taiwan.
Yes. Okay, he's throwing to me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just quickly did a quick search of some of the biggest stories before I jumped on air this morning. And two stories that jumped out at me, both involving the United States, were that following a meeting between the President of the US and the President of China earlier this week, a sort of a brief online summit, it looks to me, given the comments made by the US President yesterday in a bit of a doorstop as he was getting on a plane, the code is that it looks like the US are diplomatically throwing Taiwan under the bus. Some of the comments basically are saying, I said, they have to decide, Taiwan, not us. They are not encouraging independence. We're encouraging that they do exactly what the Taiwan Act requires. Other comments, we made very clear that we support the Taiwan Act, and that's it. So really not going any further or ramping up the rhetoric towards China about the independence of Taiwan. Pretty much in the past they've had what's called the strategic ambiguity, where they haven't recognised Taiwan as a country, but have always supported Taiwan militarily in a sort of a low-level Cold War, I suppose you'd call it. But there seems to have been a lot of rhetoric ramping up over the past couple of months following the Trump administration's sort of trade war on China. So that I found quite interesting, that the US is sort of stepping back a little bit. Why is Taiwan so important for China and America? Well, we always used to think it was about the Middle East oil. Now it's about the microchips.
Technology.
Yeah, the superconductor industry in Taiwan is way ahead of the rest of the world, followed by China and then by the US. But the technology there is some decade ahead of anything else in the world. So Taiwan has become this hot issue for, obviously, the two big superpowers. Can we ask for any thoughts on that matter from you, Forrest?
About this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the US is just stepping back a little bit.
It perplexes me, and I can't help but be a little bit opinionated, because the previous Trump administration was a staunch supporter and ally of Taiwan. They made it clear that we're going to defend Taiwan at all costs. They proposed arms sales to Taiwan so they can defend themselves and become more and more sovereign. And then you see this complete reversal from the Biden administration, claiming these vague, ambiguous statements of, it's not my problem, I'm not going to do anything. So
when you say the previous administration was staunch supporters, they still didn't recognise Taiwan's independence or recognise them as a sovereign entity.
And I get it, because they didn't want to recognize Taiwan as an entity, because at the very end of the day, they still have to do business with China and the rest of the world. And if you do let's say theoretically, if you do recognize Taiwan as a country, then all hell is going to break loose, business, everything's going to go down. So, at the very end of the day, they're looking out for their own interest.
Well, talking about the relationship between US and China, they have actually said that they might boycott the Winter Olympics in China.
So this is sort of turning the tables, where they're ramping up the rhetoric, and the Washington Post is reporting that the Biden administration are considering that US athletes will boycott the forthcoming Winter Olympics in China. When are they on? I'll have to ask.
Excellent question. Living in Thailand, I love the winter.
Hey Siri, when are the Winter Olympics in China? Let's see if we get an answer. Thinking.
The Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics will be held from Friday, February 4th, 2022 through Sunday, February 20th, 2022.
Okay, so only 2 months ahead.
Wow, okay.
3 months.
So those are strong statements.
Yeah, so there's two different sort of the latest rhetoric to China, the two different opinions there coming out of the Biden administration, which will only serve to confuse overseas people, sort of onlookers on this particular matter.
Yeah. All right, let's just leave it at that for now. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and end the episode on a very, very high note, because we have the Prime Minister's music video, as well as a little bit of information on Andrea Bocelli coming to Thailand. Here we go. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand. I'm Jay. This is Tim, and Forrest Lee is joining us from Chiang Mai. It's now time to talk about the hot. Well, I don't know how hot it is. Well, it's hot in Thailand, but the hot music video out there online. Have you seen this video? Have you seen the Prime Minister's video?
Oh, yes. I mean, hard to miss it. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet visited Krabi's,
right.
I think, last week. And there's all sorts of announcements about funding for the Andaman region, who have been probably hardest hit tourist-wise by the pandemic. But they put on their silly-looking shirts in all the various colours, and they went marching along the beach. What is this song about? It's in Thai. I don't know what it's about.
Something to do with the Thale, which is the sea.
The Tale.
The Thale, yes. To give you a quick brief, it's based. So he's at the beach, he's looking at the sea, and the song is regarding the sea.
Are we running it in the background?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Sounds romantic.
We can't see what you're seeing at the moment, except to see the gestures and the doing the Titanic gesture and
the thumbs up.
Yeah, come hither, cabinet members, come to me. And they all ended up lining up along the beach to this sort of soppy, old Thai folk song. That's what it sounds like to me.
This was going viral yesterday on the internet. Everyone has been going mad about this music video.
It just looks like he and his cabinet stuck in the 1950s.
Yeah. Well, hey, come on.
Along with Forrest.
Forrest, I know you love this music video. Any thoughts?
Oh, it was top #1 Billboard charts. Let's bring it.
I mean, who does that? What prime minister in the world would do that? Could you imagine Boris Johnson or even Joe Biden doing this?
Or Donald Trump. I should say that this is the Prime Minister that when they had the coup back in 2014, the military general who staged a coup immediately wrote a love song to Thailand, bringing happiness to Thailand, I think was the name of it. Do you remember that?
I think so, yes.
And they used to play it every single hour on TV. The TV stations and radio stations were forced to play this wretched song every single hour for about, 6 months. And
oh, God.
Talk about getting your record sales up. That's one way to do it. And the Prime Minister wrote the song. So he's a lover of music. But, I loved that.
Yeah, all right.
I wonder if Andrea Bocelli will be coming to sing Bringing Happiness to the People.
No, he's not, because he's going to come and sing his Italian ballads. Here is the poster. Andrea Bocelli is coming to Thailand.
Okay, so we found this poster yesterday.
Andrea Bocelli's listen to my prayers.
So I get that somebody, and this poster has come from the TAT.
That's right.
So they're still strongly on the narrative that he's coming to Thailand. And if you read the poster, it says he's coming to Kamala in Phuket on the beach.
That's right.
So they're going to have Andrea Bocelli, probably one of the best-known operatic singers in the world, contemporary opera singers, is going to be on the beach at Kamala singing.
Exactly.
So, question from this poster is where exactly is it going to be? When is it going to be? How much are the tickets? Where do you get the tickets? There's no information about that at all.
You ask too many questions, Tim. Just live in the moment. Andrea Bocelli's here. He's on a poster. Lisa's not coming. She has been replaced by Gam Wichayani, who's actually quite a prominent, very powerful voice, very famous singer in Thailand. She's actually absolutely amazing. So for those of you, who would be commenting, oh, there's no Lisa, they've replaced her with someone else, listen to some of her songs. Amazing, amazing singer. But yes, the main news is Andrea's here. We don't care where he is, what time it is, what day, where do I go, where do I buy the tickets. That's not important. You can find that out 3 days before, most probably. That's how things work around here. Do you not know this?
So let me tell you how I think this is going to fall out. I don't think Andrea Bocelli is coming in person.
You're a naysayer. It's going to be a Zoom call.
I think it's going to be a Zoom call, and he's going to do, or either they've recorded some Andrea Bocelli, and we're going to see him on a big screen.
It's going to be a hologram.
It's going to be a face-saving. So, oh yeah, we got Andrea Bocelli. Well, it wasn't him, but we got him to Phuket. What do you think is going to happen, Forrest? Are you going to rush to buy tickets?
I'm gonna go with what Jay said. It's gonna be a Coachella hologram of with Tupac a couple of years ago. Instead of Tupac, there's gonna be Andrea Bocelli.
I'm the ever optimist. I believe in Andrea Forrest. I think Andrea Bocelli is actually going to be there. Come on. I believe in the TAT. Just regarding this, I believe in the TAT. They've gone all out. They've put him on a poster. These posters are probably all over Phuket and the internet. There's no going back. There's no coming back from this. If this does not happen, there's no coming back from this.
Well, it's only 500 baht further that you owe me. I made a bet with Jay that Lalisa and Andrea Bocelli won't be coming to Phuket for the countdown. So I'm already up 500 baht. I think I'm pretty safe with my other 500 baht, despite you two clowns thinking that he's still coming.
All right. Let's see. We'll just have to wait and see. All right. And those are all the topics for today. Do you want to answer some questions, Tim?
Yeah, Stephen Richter said, and you might like to respond to this, Forrest, most Americans couldn't find Taiwan on a map, let alone have an opinion. What do you think about that?
Facts.
Yeah, I think he's probably right.
Yeah, he's right, 100%.
There will be only 500 tickets, invite only. Andrea will get lost at the airport.
Oh, no.
I'm not laughing.
Oh, no.
Who is the guy, Andrea? Get Sikloso or Carabao to cover. Oh, these are famous Thai singers.
Yeah, that's right. I've got an amazing comment from West TX Greg who says, Andrea Bocelli will be singing Hoa Lai Toon as the bars open. If you haven't never heard this song, I suggest you type it in YouTube. We can't play it here. But if
What's
Andrea,
it about?
It's like a more pop song, like pop dance song where people just go crazy when they listen to it. It's like just think like Songkran, you've had a couple of beers, this song comes on, everybody starts moving. That's you.
Okay, yeah. Stephen Richter says Andrea will not come if Soy Cowboy is still closed.
Well, he's going to be in Phuket, Stephen.
Okay. So, I'm still saying he's not coming. I think my 500 baht is safe. And good luck to you if you can get it back off me.
In Andrea, we believe. All right, those are all the topics for today. I'd like to give a quick thank you to Forrest for joining us all the way from Chiang Mai. You can catch Forrest on YouTube. Just type in Forrest Lee, and there he will be.
Forrest with 2 R's.
And 2 E's.
2 E's.
Yes, Lee.
Yes.
So is that... were you named after Forrest Gump? That's a question I'm sure you get asked often.
Dude, I asked my dad because I asked my dad, and I was born before the movie. The movie came out in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And he said that he found my name from a book. Forrest Gump used to be a book.
Of course.
Before it became a movie. So I'm thinking, and rest in peace. My dad's no longer here anymore. But I'm assuming that he probably found that book and named me after the movie.
Okay.
Well, hey, it worked out. Tom Hanks did you one.
Forrest with 2 R's.
Did you a solid. All right.
Thanks, Dad.
And thanks, Dad, of course, for coming up with an awesome name. All right. Thank you, Forrest Lee, for joining us. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you to Jason
Hi,
behind
guys.
the buttons. Thank you to Shai. And thank you to the viewers for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please subscribe. 50% of you are not subscribed. Please subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you tomorrow.